I don't even know which route to use when I'm going to the Volta region again.
It's crazy.
I think now somebody was telling me that there's now a route through a Brie or something.
Hey.
So apparently you climb the hill and then you go through what do you call it, latte or something, and then you descend
Where are you
and
going
come
with
through
it?
so much. So funny, because when you are going, imagine you have a funeral on Saturday in Ho.
Charlie, it's crazy.
If you use Tema to what do you call it, Dowenya, you will just sit in traffic for so long before you get to Ada. If you want to use Akosombo to the same thing.
Bobo.
So now they say you use the Brie road because the Dodowa road is bad. The Dodowa road is they are now doing it. So they say now you use the Brie road. When you climb the hill before you get to Omani's place, then you descend to Somanya.
Okay.
And then you connect to Odumase and you go to Pong before you go to your hometown. If you are going to Aplau, there is a long. You have to use a boat. Just take a boat. Take a boat from Osu, and then tell the boat rider that you are going to Aplau.
Straight up.
You probably reach earlier because there's nothing on helicopter. But the other thing, I feel like the people of Volta region also need to be questioned around the whole airport, because So okay, let me make it nice. An airport has been built.
Yes.
And there isn't enough passenger demand
At some point,
for the airport to be viable.
only one person was on the plane.
I would have said if they had fixed the whole to a flower road, it may have made more sense for people to use the airport, because you see, traffic to the Volta region is a very long region. It's not like the eastern region where Kofredi is in the middle. So before the region was divided, the capital was Ho in the middle of the region. Look at how far Plao is down, and look at how high Hohwe is. Okay, so Ho in itself doesn't solve a problem unless the roads from Ho are good. Do you get me? So if assuming Sky has a funeral in Joje or Aplao, and he doesn't want to drive, if he wants to go by air, then the road from Ho to Aplao must be finished, so he can do an hour there. Otherwise, you rather drive through Pram Pram. In the same way, if somebody's going to Hohwe, there's no reason why you will take a plane and get to Ho and then use a rough route to Hohwe. He probably just has to drive.
Straight up.
Get it? So the point around the airport must be connected to other forms of, so there must be a mix. The other point, the Volta Lake runs all the way from the north down south. All right. Yes, there are tree stumps, but a serious country cannot have proper water transportation where you have, I don't know what that's, a ferry or something. I mean, if you are bringing yams,
River boats.
do you need to put all those yams on the road and the road keeps going bad? It's like we have decided to be so minimalistic in our thinking. You can't have this natural water course and then there's all these bad roads, because the thing about water is that you don't need to fix the water.
Yeah.
You don't need to put asphalt on the water. You don't need to fill potholes. All you need to do is to deal with the tree stumps, and then you have a so it's like we are not having an integrated system of thinking about transportation, and it really worries me. It really worries me. So anyway, that's not my focus for the morning. The other thing is that we do things piecemeal. All right, so let me be controversial. Motorway to School Junction is the road they did because of the All Africa Games. Okay, but I can say to you that from the School Junction to Agbogba is a more important road than the School Junction to Motorway. Because when you drive from School Junction to Motorway, not many people live on that road. The only reason that road was done because they were doing the All Africa Games and Boteman has opened up, and we are using it this weekend for the swimming. It's fantastic.
Finish.
But if you look at residents from School Junction to Ashaliboche,
heavily
Ashaliboche to Riz, from Riz to Agbogba, from Agbogba
all
you
the
come
way to
down
Kwabenya.
to Hacho,
Yes.
from Hacho to Kwabenya, from Kwabenya to Pokwase, from Pokwase you can go to Nsawam. That's a major road. You get it? Though they are doing the Atomic Junction to Kwabenya 1, but if you take Hacho, okay, so you are doing Atomic Junction Hacho, but if you take Agbogba all the way to School Junction, it's not been done. And the worst part is where the excavators were dumped. It's called Maya Junction.
Yeah, the airport area there.
So it's called Aviation.
Aviation, yes.
That road all the way to Riz Junction.
It's terrible.
Really, really bad. And then Riz Junction leading you to Agboba. You get me? So we spend a lot of money to fix a road from the motorway to School Junction. Fine, a lot of cars use it these days to avoid traffic. But if you look at the road that will really open up that area, it's not being done. It's the same thing with the point about the whole airport. We have to integrate the solution.
Yeah.
Okay. But the way, and you see, this 250 million thing that they say has been released, Sky. You see, if politics drives something, it will satisfy people, but it will not solve the problem permanently. Because if you want to be objective and say, we have $250 million released from debt exchange that we want to use to fix roads. If it wasn't because you want to win elections, you will sit down and say, how do we create an integrated transport system in a way that will open up or unlock agriculture or something? So you want to say, okay, which roads, if we fix, will open up a critical node that will bring food prices down? Because, do you understand? You sit down and but they will say, well, these people, they will vote for us if we do the road. So let's do, you get it? So, which is why sometimes we say voting is good for accountability, but voting is not enough. So let me repeat the point. It's like a decision. Let me make it even simple for you. The decision of which secondary school to go to is a good decision. It's an important decision. But going to a good secondary school does not guarantee success. It's how you manage your life in that school that makes you successful. Give you another example. You like Oxford. So let's assume you want to do a PhD in law. And you got University of Johannesburg and University of Oxford. Then you say, well, let me go to Oxford because Oxford is the world's first university. You made the right decision. But going to Oxford to register for a PhD does not guarantee that it was a good decision. The decision only happens when you apply yourself to do the PhD. Do you get me? So let's bring it to voting. You vote for somebody. You vote for the person you prefer because he told you something you liked, as against the person who misperformed. Now, managing the decision, like how you behave at Oxford, is how you behave as a citizen. So the fact that you vote for a person who may even be good does not mean that he will do the right thing. If you don't police the vote throughout the process of getting them to be accountable, going for assembly meetings, doing protest marches, organizing education campaigns, do you get that point? We think democracy is voting and then calling to radio stations. That's not democracy. And talking your mind. Democracy is managing the process of who you've chosen for them to do what you have to do. So here you are, 250 million will be released. Everybody is shouting for their road to be done. Yes, let them protest. But really, if we had, for a country like Ghana, there should be a rubric for deciding a transport mix. So you are doing a rail from Tema to Mpakadam. Is it the most important rail to do? Let's assume it is. They say they are doing cargo, no problem. Now, in most countries, the rail is two track. So you're going and you're coming. This is just one. So if the train gets spoiled on one, it's traffic. You can say we didn't have money. But my point is that what's the level of detailed thinking that went into that thing? So that you have just one rail. So it means we all wait, it goes. And then we all wait, it comes. You get it? Maybe it's a good start. But is that really how to do it? Take the Western region. We are talking about the west roads within the Takwa enclave. Why? Because most mining companies have heavy trucks. And heavy trucks, the heavier the load on a vehicle, the worse the effect on the road. So when we did the Heritage Caravan, there were places in the Western region that were almost impassable. Western North as well, because heavy trucks are carrying timber and bauxite and all these things. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
the best way to convey bauxite is to do rail. But you put the thing in a what do you call it? In a truck, and the road gets worse. So you see, and there's no integrated planning because it's episodic. This guy needs to win elections. This guy prefers this. So we are not moving forward. You know, it's a really frustrating situation. But what can I say?
Just quickly to draw your attention to what former President Mahama said during the meet the press or the encounter with the media.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had suggested that the money that will be coming, a huge chunk will be going, into paying. Like we may have to use a huge chunk to pay for some things that had matured. He suggested something like that, and I think we have to
With
get
money.
So we have had some agreement with the IMF people and related creditors for some money to come in. We are talking some big money. In one of his answers, he gave the indication that we may because we don't have money, we may have to dig into that money.
So let me even make it easy. I don't even think there's any money coming per se.
So
My understanding of what's happening is that so you owe $13 billion of Eurobond, and the payments are due from next year. What you've succeeded in doing is you've succeeded in deferring the time of payment for some of the bonds to a future date, and you've also succeeded in helping to reduce the interest on the payment. So you can translate that into a saving. So if I owed 10 billion and I'm supposed to pay it next year, and they say I can pay 8 billion from next 3 years, that's basically the agreement. I'm simplifying it. Okay, so the 4.7 billion they are calculating is interest to have been paid, which have been reduced. So it's not fiscal cash coming in. But you see, the reason the road was incumbent was that if all loans were suspended until a debt agreement was reached. So, for example, if the Accra to Dowenya road was being funded by, say, the French government, if you have not signed an agreement with France and China for your 5.1 billion, there's no way they are going to release extra money for the road that they've earmarked for development. So the release of other funds was based on the conclusion of your bilateral debt agreement. Do you understand my point? So I don't see it like physical cash. So what it does, that's what they use the word, it frees up money. Right, so it's almost like money was supposed to come, but they've frozen the money. So I don't think someone's going to give us 4.7 billion cedis based on the agreement with the official creditors.
So the money that the IMF people are releasing to us in tranches, the money we are told it hits the BOG account. Does it come?
Yeah, that's different.
Okay.
So let me make it easy for you. Your total debt is $43 billion. All your debts. And your debts are categorized into domestic, CD denominated, foreign. And your foreign is debt you owe to countries. That's bilateral debt, 5.1 billion. Then debt you accrued on the Eurobond market. That's 13 billion.
The kinky money.
Then there's also commercial credit you took from banks, China Exim, German Bank, and then there are other debts you took all over. So 43 billion. What they did was that they spent the first 8 months doing what is called domestic debt exchange. Because how does government borrow? Government can borrow short term from you. That's a treasury bill, 91, 182, 364. That's a bill. That's short term. But that one is not a problem because they pay quickly. But government also issues bonds. That's long term, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. So what they did was they basically said, okay, Sky, we owe you 10,000 cedis. And we are supposed to pay you next year because you did an investment of 100 cedis and your whatever was matured. So Sky, we are going to reduce the interest you are supposed to get by 10%. And we are going to pay you next 5 years. So when you put all the savings they did, they save about $8 billion. From you and I, monies they promised us that they will pay pension bond holders. All those are bonds. Okay. So generally speaking, they managed to reduce the average interest on those bonds from about 30% to about, say, 20%. Okay. And they also extended the tenor for some time. So the government gave itself breathing space in the domestic debt exchange. Then we owe countries, France, UK, China, US. The Western countries call themselves the Paris Club. It's a club. If you are not a big boy in OECD, you are not part. But we also owe China. Now, the Western countries say they won't give you debt forgiveness if they don't know what China is doing. Because if they forgive you your debt, you can give the money to China. China to say you also owe us. So if we forgive you, you can give the money to the West. So they have to form an official creditor committee. So China and the French together come together and say, let's come and discuss these people, their debt. the total amount you owe those countries together is 5.1 billion. So they all agreed together the terms, which is why after Stéphane Roudet left Accra, he took a plane to China. So Stéphane Roudet is a Frenchman. He's working for IMF. But after the OCC meeting, he has to also go to China to sort of make sure they're also on the same page. So basically speaking, we have to now account to bilateral. So they are multilateral, bilateral. So World Bank is multilateral. They lend to many countries. Bilateral is what you do with UK, China, whatever. Yeah. So our bilateral debt is 5.1 billion. They have come to an agreement as to how we will treat it. They haven't forgiven us. So they are saying they will reduce some of the interest and you will pay at a later date. So you've saved 8 billion domestically, you've saved 5 billion from bilateral. But you also borrowed crazily. Look, we did our first Eurobond in 2007 under Kufuor. Then we did a Eurobond under Mills around 1.5 billion. Mahama's total Eurobond was like 3 billion. The Eurobond under this government in the 2 terms is about 12 billion. You get it? So a Eurobond is not a country.
These are private people.
Good. So it's more expensive debt that you've gone to take on with more punitive terms and very unforgiving. But once you owe those guys, the IMF is saying we're going to give you need money, you are hot. We're going to give you $3 billion, only $3 billion. We are not going to give you that money if you haven't come to an agreement with the bilaterals and also the Eurobond. So they did front load the payment. So the 3 billion, they give you some money first. I think they gave you 600. They give another 600. They give you 360, 360. Okay. But all those monies they are giving you, you are going to pay it back. Now, the reason they can tell you what to do is that, so this is the whole game. You've borrowed yourself into the ground. You can't do anything. So somebody's going to give you 3 billion. By him giving you the 3 billion, he's going to, in a sense, force you or work with you to take decisions that will make sure that you can pay back his 3 billion. And the thing he's going to do means that's why when we went to announce that we had come to an agreement with the Eurobond holders, the IMF didn't agree because they said the threshold it will leave our numbers was not good enough to assure them that we could pay. So it's almost like, because you are giving me 3 billion, every other thing I have to do, I have to come and tell you if it agrees with your, do you understand? Terms. So we went to meet the people, they said, they will give us some deferred payments and whatever. IMF said no. So we have to go back. So now IMF agreed, so they released the 360. Please, you see where I'm coming. So if somebody tells you that we've succeeded in renegotiating our debt, it's fine, but we're still going to pay. And by the way, some of the monies we owe, they deferred the payment for 16, 17 years. So by 2035, 2036, when your daughter is lecturing at Oxford, they will be paying that money. And some of the money we use it to do consumption. So if, like, let's assume you took that 13 billion. So the 13 billion we took, so let's assume the 13 billion we owe the Eurobond, we had said we use 13 billion capital to develop a rail infrastructure to change our transportation for good. So you will build rail from Takoradi to Takwa to Ninehin. You build rail from Accra to wherever, in Pakadan, front and back, buy the rails and use that to open up rail transportation
across the country.
Okay, because you are going to use that to transport your minerals to the coast and transport your food. And you are going to release pressure on your roads. So this is the thing. So if you borrow 13 billion, very expensive debt. If you could use that to say you do that, then I can give you that. Okay, fine. The 13 billion, assuming it can do rail transport, it will release pressure on my roads. It will open up. So you're in justifying the 13 billion, you can say, in 10 years' time, all the bauxite we are developing in Yinehin and Awaso will be brought to the coast by rail. We are going to do maybe a refinery. So we don't need to sell raw bauxite. We are going to add value, and then we are going to sell alumina and produce our pots and pans here. That's not the only thing. It will also bring food from the north. So the issue of food getting rotten on our roads will go down. We can feed our agribusinesses with the raw material. So you make a case and you say the 13 billion.
This is what I used it for.
Then you can say, even though we are in debt, because the rail transport and the thing we are doing, by the time your daughter is 50 years old, she can still see the benefit. She can pay. What have they used the 13 billion for?
And that's the question I was going to ask.
I say,
No, I'm not the one supposed to answer that.
No, I understand, but
It's the government that's supposed to answer that question.
But do we know what the government claims it has used the money for?
You know, they should know. I don't know. If
Can we see 13 billion in our
13
lives?
billion is such a big amount of money that I shouldn't be struggling to tell you where it is. Do you understand me? And this is Eurobond. So I don't know where the money is. I don't know what they will say they used to defer some payments. So let me tell you, the main game in Ghana was basically this. You owe somebody based on some terms. So you go. So I owe Nathan 100 cedis at maybe 10%. So I go to Sky when my Nathan payment is due, and I ask Sky to give me maybe another 10, or let's give me 5 at 8% instead of the 10%. So you say, oh, I'm better than.
Yeah, the terms are better.
So the 5%, the 8% that Sky is giving me, I'll use that to pay off when Nathan is due.
So we are borrowing money to pay for debt.
So that's what we're using a lot of the money for, to pay.
So we get better terms, perceived better terms elsewhere.
You are just kicking the can down the road, and when you get to a point and the game is up, everybody decides that they're going to withdraw their money. Nobody's going to give you any money anymore. Then you are hot. So basically, we're borrowing quite recklessly. I need to say, recklessly, to make payments and to do other things, which I am not the one to tell you. If that's something that if 13 billion has been used to do something
in this economy, you should be able to see it.
I'm not the one. I don't have to come on and explain to you. And I give you an example of what you could do. So if there's a rail transport system that's working, as an example, or you revamp Tor, you build 3 refineries, and you say we spend too much money importing finished products, so we are going to build a refinery in Takrady, one in Tema, and one somewhere else. Then you can say we borrowed a lot of money, but we've changed the face of petroleum product importation. Or just or you're going to do.
Specific example. When we needed additional power generation capacity, Kufo went to China, got us money to build Bui, right?
Wonderful.
Something like that.
Wonderful.
Mills went to China, got us money to build the thermal, what do you call it, the gas processing facility.
So Kufo, yes, good. So Kufo will say, the money I took, Bui is there.
Yeah.
Mills will say the money I took, your gas thing is there. So what this government needs to explain to us is what the money was used for.
But we are still looking for the campsite for the Pualugu multi-purpose dam.
But that's just 12 million. I'm not saying, I'm talking not chicken change. But I'm not even sure it's part of this Eurobond thing. I don't even know where they got the money from. Okay. So we need to ask, or the government needs to show, or the government needs to justify what it used the money for. Because don't forget, Eurobonds are very expensive. Okay. So why are people agitating for roads? You've said that you've gotten debt relief. So money has been freed up. So build our roads. Roads are great. Okay. But where are the roads?
13 billion.
You get me?
I thought the government said they had done more roads than any.
Yeah, that's what they said. But the question they are, okay, so fine.
Yeah, so that, but I'm also not there. Why are the roads?
Yeah,
yes.
so if you've done
that's the question I'm asking.
I'm not the one to answer that question. You don't understand? Because you are defining roads to include roads you graded and all of those things. I'm talking about transformation. You see, somebody said something last week. Borrowing is not a crime. It's what you do with the money.
Yep.
Borrowing is not a crime. It's what you do with the money. So if you borrowed the amount that you've borrowed from the Eurobond market,
$13 billion,
you need to show. I am saying if you borrow for transformative infrastructure or to transform an industry, and that transformation can yield enough returns to allow you to pay back, I have no problem with borrowing.
Yeah.
So they should be telling us where the money is and what they use it for.